Now in today's video, I'm going to share with you step by step how you can take a piece of acrylic that looks like this and turn it into a table number. Something that looks like this or something that looks like this, and even create menu items for weddings. And it could look like something like this. We're talking about products that have great profit margins. These signs go anywhere from $15 all the way up to $65 a piece, the full sign. Incredible opportunities for those of you who are moving into laser engraving and also getting a UV printer. Now, we've been using the Eufy Make E1 UV to create all these products, and we've been supporting several events within Nelda's business, including several weddings. And I wanted to share with you how you can actually make, again, a table number like this in a matter of seconds, and then also print them and create a very elegant, check that out, a very elegant piece that's going to make a wedding reception incredibly memorable. Or one of the ones that's super popular for us, something like this, where it's not just a number, but it's also a memory. So make sure you watch this full video because it's step by step and how you can complete each one of these projects. So let's get right to it. Now, in addition to sharing with you all the steps on how to create these items, we're also going to talk about two specific lasers. We're using the xTool P2 to create these products, to do the cutting. And the xTool P2 is a CO2 laser, and I want to tell you, it cuts this stuff like butter. It is fast, it is clean, and it allows you to really purchase large sheets of acrylic and cut them yourself. But I also want to share with you the P3, which is a larger laser that allows you to cut even at larger scale and cut things faster, and also, in some cases, it could be more cost effective. In addition to that, what we have found in our business as we've incorporated, again, a UV printer to create things like this, is that there's an opportunity for cross-sell. And we did a lot of cross-selling, and we continue to do a lot of cross-selling, and we're using more and more a UV laser because of the quality that comes from a UV laser. And xTool is launching very soon the xTool F2 Ultra UV. And I want to give you some examples of why you'd want to consider a UV. And if you were to ask me, would I choose a UV over a MOPA and a fiber? For my business, I'd say the answer is absolutely yes. And that's because of the flexibility and the power that comes from the solution. So make sure you watch this entire video because we're going to go through step by step how to create these. And also, again, the profit options here are really endless. And I'm going to give you tips on how to use that Eufy E1, things that we've been learning. And we have tons of jigs that make this process super easy. So let's get right to it. Now, before jumping into the step-by-step process, I wanted to show you the raw products that we're working with. Now, we purchase acrylic from various sources, depending on the size and what we need and what we can cut for the orders that we receive. And this is a piece of acrylic that I've already cut. And again, I'm going to show you the whole cutting process. I wanted to show you, happens to be one of our most popular, I would say, table numbers. And this is a very memorable one because it has not just the actual table one, but it has actually pictures of the couple when they were 1 year old. Now, you can imagine that when people see this at a table, they're not just going to go sit at their table, but they're going to go from table to table to see each number. Because literally, when you go to table 2, you have the kids or the couple when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if they have 16 tables at the wedding, now you're talking about when they were 16. We've actually hosted creating products for weddings that have had as many as 30 tables. So you can imagine, because some people are getting older, they're getting married at an older age, and also they're including like 300 people, the kind of, again, event that was, and how many people were just looking at these. These, again, are staple. These are not just table numbers, these are memories. There's also then a traditional one, and I'm going to show you this one right here. So this right here is an arch, and there's a lot of different shapes that you're going to be able to create. And I'm going to show you in the xTool Creative Studio software how to make these. But, created this arch and then printed this. This is a traditional table number. And it's very common to have a table, have a number, and then have the name of the couple. This becomes a keepsake. There are so many people that we've seen that when the wedding is about to end, like, people are starting to go home, that actually take the table numbers, especially when you have something that looks like this or something that has the name of the couple. Some choose not to have the actual name on there or a date and just have the table number. And I've even seen that there's a large resale market where people resell these. So if you make a quality product, that couple is going to take your product and then they're going to pass it on to someone else. But for you, the profit is something like this can run anywhere from $45, right, literally because of the photos and the work that takes place, something maybe even $20. There's a lot of opportunity. Now, it doesn't just end with acrylic when you're looking at table numbers. We also end up doing signing signs. We also do bar signs. And the bar signs can be really fun. The bar signs that we've done include pets, include vacation places, things that are unique and special to the couple. Now, I want to show you one bar sign, and this is kind of like a there's probably some mistakes on this one because this was a test that we were working on, so ignore any kind of spelling errors if there are any here. And I'm going to cover the couple's name. But here you can see this table. This is the bar menu. So when someone comes to the bar, they can see these are the things that they have because they have a set, I'd say, beverage offering. And they don't have, it's not like an open bar for anything, but these are the things that they chose. And you can see here where it's the bar and then basically what's going on here. Again, this is the type of product that we're talking about that is very simple. It is very cost effective, and it's needed for every wedding. And again, we've done some of the weddings on average, we're seeing anywhere from 3 to 5 of these signs, maybe 2, because sometimes you have multiple bars. It's very common to have 2 minimally, or even 3, depending on the size of the wedding. So 1 for each bar. We've also seen the guest book signing as well. And then also the seating charts. We've done those as well. All of them using the xTool P2 to cut the acrylic, and then the Eufy E1 to print. And you can see how fantastic this looks, even if depending on which one you do. So you're really looking at 3 choices here. You're looking at the fact that you can do table numbers, a variety of sizes, and I've done larger table numbers too. The larger the number goes, the more cost it is. And then we've done a lot of these as well. So let's get into the actual process. We're going to first jump into the xTool creative space and start there. As I mentioned, I use my xTool P2 to cut our acrylic for the menus and the table numbers. But there is also a brand new laser, CO2 laser, that xTool just launched that could change the way you run your business. Let me show you an example here what's going on. What you see here is the engraving area or the cutting area of the P2. It's 23.6 by 12 inches. So what does that translate to when you're creating the type of menu and table numbers that we're looking at? First of all, that you can work with acrylic that's anywhere from 8 to 12 inches or 12 to 16 inches. So that's because of the work area that you have here. With the P3, because it's much, much larger, I think it's massive, you're looking at 18 to 24 is the largest sheet that you can go. Now, if you notice, this is a 36 by 18, it's just that the sizes, when you try to procure them, they don't really come in this specific size that you'd want here, but you could go much larger. And there are websites that you can go to and actually get sized closer to the 36 by 18, so you can go a little bit larger. The numbers I'm giving you here is what's readily available, like on Amazon, something that you can just grab. But obviously, there's a lot of other sites that you can get acrylic, and the point here is that you can go much, much larger. Now, the most popular size menu and table numbers are the ones that you find right here. These are the ones that sell a lot on Etsy. These are the ones that we have a lot of success with and the ones that our customers request. You have menus, and the menus could be a lot of different things. I'm using the example of a bar menu, but it could be a sign-in menu like the one that you saw. It's just, a large piece of acrylic, and you're looking at 8 by 10. So this is one size. You also see table numbers that are 4 by 6, right? And the table numbers I see come in 2 different shapes. You have the square shape, and then you have this one that has an arch. Now, there are half arches. There are so many different shapes that you can choose from, but these tend to be, going from traditional to the most favorite or the most popular. Now, creating this arch is really simple. So what I wanted to do is just show you how easy it is. So here I have a square, and here I have a circle. And I changed the color of them so it's easy to distinguish one from the other. And I want to show you how easy it is in xTool's Creative Studio to actually make an arch if you wanted to create a table number. So you don't have to buy templates. You can make this yourself. All you have to do is highlight them both. And the menuing system inside of Creative Studio is contextual. That means that depending on what you have selected, the menus are going to change. Let me show you. If I choose text, for example, notice how the menu here has changed to text. If I am clicking on a shape, which is this one right here, notice how the menu changed to support the shape. If I select 2 items, like 2 shapes, it's contextual. It's already brought up different options where I can join things. So the application is really, really smart. It's, I would say, from all the programs that I use, one of my favorites when it comes to, laser engraving.
And I actually use this to do a little bit more than laser engraving because of how easy it is to use the program. So if I want to get this type of shape and I have these two selected, all I literally have to do is just click on a button, I unite it, and then now all of a sudden, check it out, I've got the shape. It's that easy. So you could do this really easily as well, just by taking these 2 points and merging them together. Now you have an arch. Obviously, creating a square is really simple because all you have to do is grab the square that you see right here, draw out the rectangle, make it to the size you want. Now, let me tell you why the P3, if you are looking to expand your business, is really something that you should consider. Because I want to show you the difference between how much can I cut out of acrylic on a P2 versus how much I can cut from a P3. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying the P2 is not capable. The P2 is what I have, and I actually love it. The P3, though, allows you to really expand your business, to cut a lot more, and to also engrave a lot more. So let's look at this example over here, and I'm going to go ahead and jump through a couple things. This is the difference. So these are 4x6 cutouts. I just wanted to illustrate for you guys. What you have here is, this is, if I had 4x6 acrylic that I had to cut out, and I was using the largest possible sheet that I could have on the actual P2, I'm able to cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And I have this extra. That's not bad. That's what I do right now. So if I'm working with 4x6s, and again, it's just the squares, this is what I have. Obviously, if I do the arch, I'm going to do a few less, right? Because the arch takes up a lot. It means that the cost to create an arch acrylic menu or table number is going to be higher. Now, if I look at the P3, what you see right here is how many pieces I can get out of it because I have the larger bed. So now I go from 5 to, check this out, that's 4, that's 8, that's 9, 10, 11 sheets. That's what I'm talking about. It makes it more efficient. And because the sheets, you can get more out of a sheet, typically what you can do is you could buy more cost-effective products because you're actually going larger. So typically what ends up happening is, if you can get more out of it, you can pay a reasonable amount for your acrylic, your cost per acrylic table number also goes down. So this is the difference between these two. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention to you is that xTool, there's a lot of hype out there right now about a new product that's available on the market, or coming to the market, which is called the F2 Ultra UV. And if you haven't heard of it, or you don't know what a UV is, we actually use other brand UVs in our business. And when we support either a small business or a corporate, or even if we're working with, let's say, for example, a wedding, which we just recently did, that wedding basically took a lot of our technology went in. And one of the tech that we used was a UV. And I want to show you a couple things. Let's go ahead and come up to this page, because this is just a screenshot of things that are going on. So the power of a UV is that it could engrave glass. So these are shot glasses, not the ones that we use in the wedding, but we provided some shot glasses for a wedding. And there is no tempera paint. There is no spray. It just works beautifully on glass. And I'm going to zoom in so you can look at that and move this around a little bit so you can see what's going on here. So you basically have something that looks like this. Again, no paint, no wash. It's just engraving directly on the glass. So this is something that you'd be able to do when using, again, the F2 Ultra once it becomes available. The other thing, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize, especially if they're new to UV lasers, is that UV lasers create amazing burn-free engraves on wood. And I just want you to look at these, again, hangers that were part of this wedding. These were engraved on a UV laser. Look how dark, look how crisp and clean this is. And there was no wiping, there was no cleaning, nothing happened. Next, if you've never worked with bamboo, for those of you who have worked with bamboo, bamboo is one of the toughest materials, not to engrave, but to get good quality out of it. I see many people using different techniques where they're using borax, they're using different type of preps to get a dark engrave on bamboo, because bamboo just is difficult as a wood to engrave. This is a bamboo board, and look at how dark and crisp this engrave is. This is what we're talking about UV. So UV is not just about glass. UV is about literally every material that is available, and it has higher resolution. It has better finish. And for some that are working even with metal, right? UV does a fantastic job on metal. UV marks black. But the key word that I just used is the word mark. it marks. It does not engrave in the traditional sense that you would see with like a MOPA laser or a fiber laser, where it cuts into the actual metal. But what I like about it is that the UV marking is dark, it's black, and it also doesn't rust. So you don't have to worry about annealing. It's just a really, really nice, it's a really nice treatment when it comes to metal. So if you were to ask me, what is my favorite laser if I had to choose, would it be a fiber, would it be a MOPA, would it be a diode? I'm going to tell you, it's UV, because it could do all these different type of materials and metal and slate, coasters and leather, and it does beautifully on leather too, and it has this level of resolution. But there's something that I'd say the internet is kind of melting down right now on, and that is the fact that you could also do 3D glass. Now, I'm not a super fan, I'm doing it because you can. On here, you see at Eufy, the F2 Ultra, what it's going to look like, and you can see that there's a lot of glass pieces over here. I did this with a different product, right? This is, I have a video where I did this review. This is from Comarker. And this is a chess piece that was put into a glass, something called K9 crystal. And it looks amazing. Now, I see and I know of many of my friends who are in the business of creating 3D glass, where they're not putting chess pieces, but they're actually putting pictures of infants. They're putting, couples that are getting married. They're putting, these are awards that are being made. And this is something, and again, that the F2 Ultra UV is going to be able to do. And you can see the samples right here, the sample of the K9, and then you can see the K9 being engraved. Now, just because it could do these pieces, don't forget, it could do all of these too. So it is going to be the most, UV is the most, I'd say the most powerful when it comes to material types that you're going to be able to find on the market. So just be aware of that. So going back to this, you have the P2. This is the engraving area based on the largest piece of acrylic that I can work with in that. P3, which is super size, and you can cut more acrylic. Now, let's take a look at my P2. So I'm going to jump into another tab. Actually, this is another project that I'm working on. And what we're going to do is we're going to expand. Again, this is the Creative Studio. I'm going to expand my actual canvas to another canvas. And there's a lot of things that I've been doing here. So these are actually stirs that I've been working on. I think we're going to stick with this one because I'm just going to cut from here and I'll make some changes. All right, so let's go ahead and close this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two things. One, I am going to bring the camera up so I can see my material. So we're going to do a quick background check, and you're going to see how quickly this loads. And guys, this is the P2, right? So boom, it's up. Now, this is the largest piece that I can use because I can't really find pieces that are a bit longer. See this piece right here? What you're seeing is my actual bed. So if I wanted to cut this, I could get away with an 8x10 menu, and then I also could do a table number of a 4x6, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this layer off, right? And I'm also going to hide it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hide this one. Let's do this. I can make sure we select it, and then we do a hide. And I'm going to take this and make sure this is off as well. And I'm going to do another hide, right? Because we just don't need it. The table number, right? I'm going to go ahead and grab this one that I have right here, and I'm going to bring this right here. So now what I have, and I usually sometimes have a cut line, so I'm going to turn this off. And I'm also going to hide it as well. And now what I have are two things that I'm going to cut out of this acrylic. And I'm actually going to use this acrylic completely. So this is my 8x10 menu, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 4x6 table number. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this one's off too. And I'm going to turn it. I'm going to make sure that I hide it. This is just for me to show you how this works and the actual size differences. I'm going to do the same thing, turn this one off, and I'm going to hide it as well, right? Just showing you how easy the Creative Studio is. And what I like doing is just making sure that I'm as close as I can to the side. Now, for whatever reason, I thought I got this pretty straight, but you'll notice that it is not straight. So even though I'm going to have some small waste right here in the corner, I am going to just suck it up and live with it, right? So I'm just going to put this right here. And matter of fact, before I do that, I'm going to do a measurement. So we're going to check and see what's the height of the material, right? So I hit the measurement button because that's going to affect my camera as well. And that's a mistake that, even I have to remind myself to do the camera check or the actual, the thickness check. And you notice how it came up here, 3.91, because then that impacts my cut and my engrave. So I have this in place, and now I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put him right next to him as close as I can. And what I'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit, right? I'm going to bring it right there. So that's pretty close. And I think I'm going to be happy with that. I'm going to make sure I have no other pieces that are going to be cut. And then I'm going to confirm that my settings are correct. So it's 80, 16, 1, and it's not a score, but it's a cut. You notice over here I have this as a cut. 80, 16, and 1. Over here I need to make this, again, 80, which is my power, speed of 16, and 1. Right? So these are the two pieces that we're going to cut out. And we've done the height measurement. Everything is pretty set. We're now going to go over to the printer, or in this case the laser, and we're going to cut this out. Let's go ahead and process. Here are my two cuts. And check this out. It's going to take 1 minute and 33 seconds. That's it. We'll hit start. And now what we'll have to do is go to the actual laser and press the start button.
All right, so now we'll go ahead and start out the P2 and let it rip. Now you'll see this laser is fast. Like we said, it was going to take a little bit over 1 minute to do, but it's going to go ahead and cut the acrylic, do our arch, and everything is going to pop out really easily. And you see that immediately even one of the pieces fell out because I don't have all of my bars on that one. But good piece, good second piece. And now what we're going to do is go back to the Eufy. Now we reviewed the Eufy E1 several months ago, and it wasn't just a review, but it was also a review, and we've continued to test the product and use the product on a daily basis. We've actually incorporated the E1 into our business model, and it's part of Nilda's offerings when she meets with clients. Now, I'm the tinkerer, right? So when I'm looking at the E1 and any product that comes to our workflow or into our business, I look at how can I make it simple, how can I make it easy, and also how can I make it safe. The very first thing I designed was this. This is our air extraction solution. And I started this because Nilda's very sensitive to smell, to resin, and I do review resin printers. And she can't tolerate it. It gives her a migraine, and she's very sensitive to it. So as soon as we started using the Eufy, she started reacting to the smell of the UV print ink, right? So that was something that was bothering her. So I went ahead and immediately designed this right here. This actually inserts into the actual printer. Let me just show you. This comes out of this and basically goes into this cavity where you have your normal filter. The benefit for us is that this basically goes to this hose and it goes out and vents out of the house. So we don't smell anything in the house. We also, if we are using this, let's say on-prem, we actually have this adapted so it will work with our xTool AP2, and that is a fantastic air purifier. No one smells anything ever. Matter of fact, we've created a full set of adapters that allows you to go from native AP2 to the standard little baby F1 filter. If you want a 4-inch hose, we have several adapters that we're using there. So that's something that we did. The other thing is, and I've seen this a lot, even from other testers, when they're trying to place items on their bed, everybody's trying to figure out how do you line it? How do you keep things straight? And guess what? I'm one of those people too. I don't know if it's OCD or what it is, but I like things to be straight. And the challenge is that when you place this on the bed, how do you know if it's straight? It becomes a challenge. Now, Eufy has in their design, they have a ruler at the very bottom that allows you to kind of like, and I'm going to go ahead and pan a little bit down so that you guys can see that. Let me come down so you can see the ruler right there. You'll see that right there. There's a little line right here, and I see a lot of people trying to get that perfectly there. Guess what? I'm the tinker guy, and I like to be able to make things easy. So what I created is a ruler. This is an alignment ruler that all I do is I snap it into place no matter where I want it on the bed, and I just take the item that I want to align, and I place it just like that. Every single product that we have, that we print, is 100% aligned because this ruler basically aligns it in place. That's how easy it is. So all I do is I put it in place, I press down, I remove my ruler or my straight edge, and we're set to go. That is perfectly aligned. I don't have to worry about putting it in this corner. I don't have to worry about putting it all the way here in the bottom. I just use my ruler to do it, and we're set to go. So now let's go into the Eufy Make software, and we'll see the preview, and we'll get our print on this printer. Now, the very first thing I'm going to do before showing you the application is I'm going to do a snapshot. And the snapshot is going to do two things. It's basically going to raise the bed, and it's going to take a picture of the item that's on the bed, and it's also going to be determining the height. There's actually some lasers that are basically being shot on the bed, and it's determining what's on the bed. So you notice here it's saying measuring height, and then once it's done measuring the height, it's going to show me a picture
of the actual, what's on the bed. In this case, it's the acrylic. Now, there's a lot of things that you could do in the application, and the application has been growing, and it's been such a delight to see how quickly Eufy has been responding to feedback and improving the software. This is 100% improved over a number of months, which is a feat in itself when you look at software development. A couple of things that I'll highlight. Notice I'll have photo alignment. Photo alignment means that the alignment of the graphic that I place on the acrylic is going to be based on the photo. Now, there's also something called 0-point alignment. And 0-point alignment basically means that in the bottom right-hand corner, there's an actual corner point here that could be defined as 0.0, and you can actually define the placement of the item based on that 0 point. So 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter over, and then 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeters up. And you notice that once we get the item on the board, you see here that you have some measurement information that's showing up. You'll see that in a couple seconds. I really enjoy using the photo alignment, especially as they've been improving the application. It's just gotten really, really accurate, and it's kind of like my preferred method of doing things. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the graphic that we worked on. And I'm just going to drop it in here so that we can see that. And you'll see that the table number came in. Now, there's a bug in the application right now where it doesn't take into account the actual size of the actual image. So you notice it scaled too big. This is like full size. This is the full bed, and we don't want that. That's not going to work well for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to resize this down once the image comes in. Now, I have a couple of options of how I can resize it. I can actually type in the width and the height here, and because it's bound, if I type in the width, it's automatically going to scale. Or what I could do is I can grab a corner and I could just bring it down to the height I want. Now, the important thing is I'm going to put it halfway here, and let me scale this up again so you can see this. Notice as it's in between these two things, how there's no background. Remember, this is the case because we chose transparency, and that's really important because you don't want to waste ink and you don't want it to paint on something that's already white. So we don't need that, right? So I'm going to bring this back to the bed. Now, going back to my earlier comment around the 0-point alignment, check this out. Notice here I have an X and Y coordinate. This is where your 0-point alignment would come in. So if you, and this works just like a laser, if you were to basically know where your X and Y is, let's say you have a fixed position, let's say this was a jig, which you guys know I love jigs and we create jigs, you could actually use that XY coordinate. But when I look at this, watch this, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Look how clear this is. This is really, really clear. And what I could do here is I can bring this to this position wherever I want it, and I can work on my alignment. And because of the size of the graphic, notice how the software itself is aware of what is on the bed, and it's giving me a center line. Ignore the sides here, right? Because this is a little bit off. But you'll notice as soon as I move it over, see how that center line comes in? Now, if I am not comfortable with that, what I could do is I can move it a tad over, which I will, and I'm just gonna put it right there. That looks more centered to me than what the software was saying. And I'm okay with that because the software's been improving, and frankly, we've been giving feedback on, bugs, little bugs here and there. But this is all I'm doing. I have my table number. Now, given the size of this bed, guys, take a look at this. I can actually have here 1, 2, 3. I actually could do 6 table numbers at once. The size of this bed is incredible. This is larger than the Epson 1070V. It's larger than many UV printers. And while this is not the fastest UV printer on the market, for the price, this is or has the largest bed. So I literally can have 6 table numbers, 4x6, on this bed and crank them out. And let's face it, the typical wedding would have anywhere on the really small side, 5 tables. On average, it's going to be 10. And the weddings that we've been providing table numbers for have been more in the 15 to 25, right? So that's what you're looking at here. So let's go ahead and zoom back in so you can see what we have here. Now, if you wanted to, you could also then, if you hadn't removed the back, or let's say, for example, you have a photo in here, there's some more stuff going on. I've seen people have pictures of their pets, of their dogs. There's all these things that you can do. You do have a lot of tools now. You can do a upscaler, which I've had to do because I've received photos that are not great. So there's a AI upscaler. There's the AI background remover, which works really well. We don't have to do that because we have a transparent one. You could also work with cutouts. So this is like cropping and things like that. And then you can outline something too. We're not going to use these features because we have everything set the way we want it. So as you look at this really looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it from actual white CYMK, which means lay white, and then go to CYMK. I'm going to have it go straight to CYMK. I could choose gloss varnish. I don't need to do that because I kind of like the contrast that I get between the ink and the glossy nature of the acrylic. So I'm going to choose this, right? And you have other settings here. For example, you have straight white. If this was a black piece of acrylic, I would do straight white. If, for example, this was a transparent piece of acrylic and I was putting this on the back, in other words, this was reversed, right? What I would then do is I would go CYMK and then I would give it a white background. And what that will do is when someone's looking at this, because it's transparent, the white will give it a foundation so that it pops through. So there's a lot of things you can do here because let's face it, acrylic, you can have white, you can have black, you can have transparent, and you can have all these different colors. Rest assured that you have enough options here to get the right settings that you'd like. And I have played with Mimaki, I've played with LogoJet, I've played with also Epson, and I have not found software that is as easy to use as this. This is modern, this is easy, and it's frustration-free. Now, the other thing that you could do is, depending on the color that you're working with, sometimes you could do is you can increase the intensity. So here you'll notice it says CYMK. It's going to only do one coat, one pass. That's it. For whatever reason, if I wanted it to be two, let's say I was dealing with a color that I was concerned it wasn't going to stand out enough, I could go ahead and increase this to 2, to 3, to 4. And you notice there is a max setting there that says max setting of 12, right? I do have a preview button that I can hit, and the preview button is just going to show me this. It doesn't do much for me because, again, because of the acrylic piece. I found that the preview button is really good when you're doing things, for example, where you're doing raised content. I'm not going to do the raise. It's not worth it, and it's too time consuming from a cost perspective. And as it is, I don't think that for table numbers that people are going to pay for that. They want something as simple as this, and I want something fast with low finish or low prep and no finish. Let's go ahead and look at one more thing. Now, one of the things that you could do here too is you could choose different settings. Like if I choose acrylic, for example, I could choose the acrylic say type. I could choose metal depending on what I'm working with. And they have a lot of predefined settings. You could also choose unknown if you just didn't know, right? So let's go ahead back to look at this. We still have, again, 1. And we know that our settings to acrylic, we're going with standard. They have a high quality and also a standard quality. I have never really had to use high quality because it's so good. This standard is so good. And I don't want to really waste unnecessary ink, so I'm going to leave it at standard. I don't do drafts though either. All right, so this is what everything looks like. The print area is flat, everything is good. I'm going to hit print now. Now, the one thing that you'll notice is that the printer is going to basically send the job. The job is going to go over to the printer. You can see that right here. And the other improvement that they did is previously when we first started doing this, you would have to go over to the printer and you would have to, you would have to hit print. Now, basically, they've included the start button right here. Now, the other thing I wanted to highlight, and this is fantastic when it comes to cost, this is using less than 0.01 milliliters. Now, a lot of people have commented, well, the ink cartridges are only 100 milliliters. But think about this. This is not even using a full milliliter. This is 0.01. This is, pennies, right? Not even a penny. This is how much ink is being used to get that number out there. So think about your business and then think about how much you're going to make. And then here you can see how much ink is being used. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm actually going to record this process, I'm going to switch to the actual printer so we can see the printing take place. All right, next step, we're going to go ahead and press the button. Remember, we could have done this in the software, but I wanted to be able to record this so you can see how the printer works. I'm not on the same floor as the printer. So we're going to hit the print button. And now what's going to do is it's going to raise the bed and it will start printing on our table number. All right, so this is going to be about a 4-minute process to complete. And you'll notice that the bed will rise up. It's already done its initial calibration, so it knows the actual height of the item and it knows exactly where the item is. I have my air purifier, in this case, on. I'm not venting out. And what it will do is, with our adapter, just take care of all the fumes. I accelerated this a little bit, so now you see the product coming out, and then it's going to come towards me and it's going to light up. And then you'll see what things look like. And you can see it's pretty spectacular. It is amazing. All right, it is done. And check this out. I have a sticky pad here, right? Isn't that amazing? That is spot on. So this is what I'm talking about and how easy it is to create. Again, table numbers, menu items for weddings, high profit, low cost, and easy to do. Very little skills. All you need to do is have a P2, a P3, or any other CO2 laser to cut your own acrylic, or you can actually purchase the acrylic already made just like this and use it that way. Now that just took 4 minutes to create. Pretty awesome.
So guys, that wraps up our review. See you in the next video.